Welcome to Evolution in Controls. I'm your host, Tim Wilson. Thank you for joining us. The pursuit of efficiency is both relentless and rewarding. Engineers study, design, and then redesign to create components, systems, and applications that meet ever-exacting standards. Every component designed holds the potential to revolutionize the machines we rely on every day. While improving efficiency in a machine can be a significant challenge, the solution often lies in a small component. Think about hydraulics and its role as a power source in mobile machinery. The technology has been in use for decades, and yet components are still being developed to improve their efficiency and enhance their capability. Even a minor change to a component can have system-wide impact and lead to significant improvements in performance and efficiency. HYDAC's innovative hydraulic solutions showcase the power and versatility of small hydraulic components in skid steer attachments. Each attachment has its own requirements and specifications to meet, while it also must seamlessly integrate into skid steers. With the right expert hydraulic design and support, skid steer attachments can reach new levels of energy efficiency, ease of use, and performance. To help us further explore the role of hydraulic components in skid steer attachments is Mr. Craig Boezwinkle, Product Manager at HYDAC. Also joining us is Mr. Chris Carlson, Technical Sales for Morel. Guys, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Chris, let's start with you. How long have you been with Morel, and what do you do?
Yeah, I'm the technical sales representative serving Minnesota and North Dakota. I've been with Morel for about a year, but I've been in the hydraulics industry for almost 10 years.
Okay. Craig, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, a little bit about HYDAC.
Sure. I've been with HYDAC about 11 years now, and in the hydraulics industry for about 20. When I started on with HYDAC, I was application engineer in the sales group, and then today I'm product manager for our cartridge valve division.
Okay. We're at the cartridge valve division headquarters today, correct?
That's right, yep.
In my introduction, I talked about small hydraulic components in skid steer attachments. I assume cartridge valves are the small hydraulic components we're talking about?
Yeah, they play a big role on the attachment to control whatever functions are either spinning or moving in some way. Yep.
So an attachment, a skid steer attachment, they plug into a skid steer, correct? What kind of functions do these attachments perform? What do they do?
Yeah, there's a really wide range of attachments available on the market. You've got some really basic stuff that is maybe just a set of forks, doesn't have any moving parts to it. And then you could have a broom or, for street sweeping, things like that. Snow blowers, stump grinders, mulchers, cold planers. There's a huge list of skid steer attachments, and it keeps growing. That market just keeps filling in niches. Yeah.
Chris, you're calling on those OEMs, the OEMs that make those attachments, right?
Correct.
Tell me a little bit about them as a company. Are they big companies? Are they small companies? Do they do other things? Tell me a little about them.
Of course, there's definitely big companies, but I'd say there's a lot more smaller companies that started out making forks like you mentioned, or just spears for picking up hay bales, and now are moving towards the attachments that require some sort of hydraulics. As they do that, we are here to help them with the entire system, as many of them don't have as much experience in hydraulics, especially as we do, right?
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So we've got small hydraulic component. We've got cartridge valve technology. Some of them are already using cartridge valve technology, I assume. What do we offer them when we bring our products in? Craig, what do we talk about when they come in or when Chris brings them in?
Usually it starts with trying to get a good understanding of what they're trying to do. So what's the end goal of what you're trying to accomplish? And then from there we can kind of back up and figure out what's the most efficient way to do that from a valve selection standpoint and a manifold layout standpoint, and kind of all the pieces that need to come together to accomplish that.
So it's not just simply, oh, you buy this, let me cross it over. We're actually talking to them about what kind of problem they're wanting to solve. Yes?
There's definitely some similarities between solutions, but for each application, usually there's a little bit that we need to change. And then for some applications, that especially the new stuff that keeps coming in, it's almost a clean slate where you need to start from scratch.
What sets the HYDAC product apart? When you bring an OEM in or you go to an OEM, what do you talk to them about in terms of the cartridge valves offering from HYDAC?
Yeah, I think from the Morel side, it's a whole system level approach. We want to come in and work together to help them with the motor, with the manifold being
a motor
HYDAC.
Because something
Yep.
is rotating.
Absolutely. And working with HYDAC to bolt a custom manifold to that motor with the functions that they want on it in a nice small package, reducing components, reducing cost, improving efficiencies and performance. And HYDAC does a great job of being competitive and ultra responsive with great components.
What's the technology? Greg, tell me about the valves that you're offering. What makes them different?
So we have a very wide range of cartridge valves. One of the things interesting and challenging about skid steers is you've got one main flow source coming from the machine, and then on the attachment you have to divide that up for all the functions that you've got. So usually there's one main function that requires high flow, 30, 40, 50 gallons a minute, and then you're going to have several auxiliary functions that are going to be low flow, 1, 2, 3 gallons a minute. Our product range happens to have the big stuff that's really good at sending flow to the high flow function and doing it in a way that doesn't create heat by minimizing pressure drop. And then we also have our size 6 line of cartridge valves, which are made here in Chicago and unique to HYDAC. Those are targeted at low flow functions, perfect for the 1, 2, 3 gallon a minute functions you find on a lot of the auxiliary requirements for the attachment.
So using a size 6, did you say?
Yep.
Using a size 6 valve for low flow is a cost-effective means. There's nothing wrong with running 1 GPM through a size 16 valve, is there?
You're going to end up paying for a larger valve than you need. What we find is that the biggest part of the savings is that you can put it into a more compact manifold. The material that you need for the manifold now becomes smaller. The machining requirements are reduced. So beyond just the valve itself, the packaging opens up a lot of different opportunities.
The space to mount a manifold is probably at a premium for an attachment, right? They don't want to give up a lot of space. It makes the attachment smaller, or can be smaller for that.
Yep. It's not unique to attachments. We find that pretty much across all platforms that we work on, but for sure the smaller manifold is a benefit. Yeah.
Chris, what challenges do the attachment OEMs, what challenges do they face in adopting this technology? Are they able to design their own solutions, or is that something that you find that you have to help them with?
Yeah, we'd love to help them with all that, especially the hydraulic side, control side, motors. Work with them as a whole system level, start from the beginning, work with them to the end, help them test and validate it. And it's definitely something that they're open to, as a lot of these shops are shorthanded on engineers and resources, and they're very, very busy. So as much as they'd let us help them, we'll be there.
Greg, how is technology changing the attachment marketplace? Cartridge technology has been around for a while, and they can be electrical, or they are electrical in nature with the solenoids to turn them on and off. But is technology changing how the cartridge valves are communicated to?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the limitations of a skid steer in the past was that you really only had 6 outputs that you could work with. So in the cab, you've got
electrical outputs?
Exactly. So
okay.
On the joysticks, you've got 3 toggle switches, up, down, left, right. Those are going to send power to a valve, and that's how attachments were for a long time. And to add functionality beyond that, the manufacturers are going to a CAN bus system, where now instead of sending discrete outputs to the attachment, they're communicating with it over a CAN bus network, which opens up more opportunities to have more functions on your attachment.
So the attachment has to have the ability to communicate via CAN bus.
That's right. So that means that on the attachment, you're going to have a controller that can receive those messages, understand what the messages are for, and turn on corresponding valves. It also opens up the opportunity to bring sensor inputs back into the controller. So now you can add some smarts to an attachment and gather information that you couldn't do before.
You mean get the status of how or what the attachment is doing? Like, is it force, speed, pressure, things like that?
Yep, all those things. You can have pressure transmitters, flow gauges, distance sensors, speed sensors. All those things can help the controller make decisions on limiting horsepower or things like that, where if you don't have that information, you can't make those decisions.
Chris, as you call on these OEMs, is that an area where you find that you're working with them and helping them on this information?
Absolutely. This is definitely a new hurdle that they have to work with and work around if they want to be able to provide attachments for all OEM skid steers, right? As the new OEM skid steers are going that way to CAN. So definitely something they need help with, and it's definitely something we can help them with.
In my introduction, I talked about expert design and support. Morel and HYDAC, we work together as a team to provide that support. Is that correct?
Yeah, we both have solid engineering groups. Definitely a resource. We're going to be there from the beginning of the design phase to the day you bring it to the field to test it, to make sure it's validated and it's doing what we said it's going to do.
Craig, as you look at technology and the advancement in technology, you already talked about CAN bus. I'm guessing that when these OEMs, they first designed their machine, they weren't designing it thinking about having a CAN bus control their attachment. But technology changes change that. What changes or what effects do you see it having on the products that you're offering and that, as a team, that Morel and HYDAC is supplying?
So I think the solutions that we've offered up until now have grown with the market, and moving into the future, they're going to continue to do that. We see that the attachment market is getting smarter, and things like having operator assist functions and even telemetry and cellular connectivity, those are things that we see coming in the future, and they're things that we have technology in place for to help solve.
The skid steer OEMs, the OEMs that make the skid steers, they're having technology change their equipment, so that's driving the attachment OEMs, that's driving them to adapt and adopt new technology on their equipment. 5 years down the road, what do we see as being different? What do we think is going to happen to the attachment OEMs and to the product line and what we supply both of them?
I think we're going to start to see a lot more controllers mounted on attachments. I think we're going to start to see a lot more intelligence built into it, and the operator assist functions like a horsepower limit or an auto grade function, things like that, where you can have a newer operator start to be productive on day one and increase the efficiencies of your machine. I think things like that are going to become the focus of the attachment manufacturers.
Chris, are you concerned that the OEMs are going to not need you as much or not look to you as much? Or do you think this technology change is going to actually drive them towards you more?
Yeah, I think it's going to drive them towards us more because we're going to have that experience, the knowledge to keep pushing that envelope. As the skid steer OEMs push it, the attachments are going to have to follow.
I'd like to see what the future looks like. I'd like to see 5 years down the road what the technology changes, how prevalent it will be in the attachments. Maybe we should have you come back and we'll talk about it again in the future to see, okay, 5 years ago, this is what we predicted. Let's see how it happens. Willing to do that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Absolutely.
Okay. Guys, Craig, Chris, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
To learn more about HYDAC, their products, solutions, and markets, visit HYDAC.com. To learn more about Morel and their systems and solutions, visit morel-group.com. Don't forget to subscribe to Evolution in Controls on whatever platform you use for podcasts or on YouTube for a video version so you can be updated when we release new episodes. Thank you again for joining us today. I'm Tim Wilson, and remember, keep moving.